The story of Richland Community College is perhaps best captured in the question, who would have thought? Who would have imagined that from its first home in a former bank building, Richland would now offer classes and services in facilities with over 50 laboratories and classrooms, a 325-seat theater and community education center, and a state-of-the-art innovations lab. Who would have thought that the selection from 11 certificates offered in fall 1972 would have grown to over 50 degrees and 80 certificates? Who would have thought that from the first graduating class in 1974 to the record number of graduates in 2011, Richland alumni would be supporting local and regional economic development with careers that include teaching, information technology, science, engineering, and graphic arts? Who would have thought?
When Richland was created in, early '72, I heard by the grapevine that one of the persons they were going to employ right at the outset was a librarian, and that was my background. I have a master's in library science. And so I wrote a letter of inquiry and interest, and sometime in April I got a call back saying, come in for an interview. And the interview was on the I think the very top floor of the Citizens Building, because at that time there was no other place for the college, and the office consisted of two people, Gerald Smith, who was the temporary interim president, and Everett Belote, who was the dean, and he'd been hired full-time. And so I was to interview them, but they were both busy, and so I sat and waited for a while. And then Everett said, would you mind doing the interview in an automobile on our way to Springfield? Because we have to be at a meeting in Springfield at such and such time. This was in the afternoon. I said, okay, but I'll need to get back. So I called my wife and asked her to meet me at a certain place on the east side of Springfield. Which, of course, she immediately wanted to know what was going on. So anyhow, I got in the car. Everett Belote drove the automobile. I sat in the passenger seat up front, and Gerald Smith sat in the back seat. And they peppered me with questions as we drove on Old Route 36. Everett had a very heavy foot. And I know we were going 75 and sometimes 80 miles an hour, so it was quite an interview, one that I'll never forget.
The Community College of Decatur's first home was not a campus at all. Stories of classes in the bank building are now among the treasures in Richland's history. Locating the new college downtown in the former Milliken National Bank emphasized that this was a college for anyone.
The bank building was at 100 North Water Street, and I believe it was 5 stories. And the first story was the library and the student services area. And the classes were on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors. But it was unique because it was sort of a new adventure. I'd never been in at a college where you had stories and you had to take an elevator up to the 2nd floor and the other floors. But it was a new college, and I think that was what was different about it, that everyone there was on their way to a new adventure, and that was exciting.
Along with new students came new employees as well.
I came and worked for the first president of the college, who was Dr. Murray Deutsch, and that was in 1977. So I began in 1977, and you know, we were in a downtown location, we were in a bank building, we parked at the Montgomery Ward's parking lot, which now is Ameren's, was formerly Illinois Power's administrative offices, and that's where we parked.
The Community College of Decatur was growing, and quickly. What had started off as a handful of people with an idea had blossomed into a thriving, expanding center for education. Soon, even in the 5-story bank building, space was at a premium.
We had classrooms that were spread out all over the city, all over in high schools, You name it, we had classes. And then some of our classes were taught in strange places within that First National Bank building.
The question, they put the library, Gerald and Everett thought the library should be down on the main floor, and I agreed with that. And so, and of course we did at that time have a very large collection. We had several hundreds, maybe even 1,000 or more books, but it was just a start. And the question was, what are we going to do with that vault space? Well, I thought we ought to use it, and so we put shelves in it and put books in it. As the year progressed, it was very obvious that for some students, going into the vault was very troublesome. For those people who were a little claustrophobic, that bothered them a lot. So we knew immediately that we were going to have to take it out, which we did, and use that space. Didn't want to waste the space, wanted to use the space. I think the next summer we used the space for storage of back issues of magazines and supplies and that sort of thing, and put the book collection out in the main lobby.
In February 1975, the name Richland Community College was approved, representing the rich land of Central Illinois. The concept of a community college was new to many residents. The key to establishing the credibility of learning at a community college is the faculty.
I had never been affiliated with a community college, but this was 1972, and in history, which is of course my field, jobs were, I was going to use the word, were not plentiful. They were not there, period. So I had no real idea. I knew the community colleges was more attuned to teaching, which of course I was mostly interested in. And the administrative part of it came just kind of as a little bonus, I think. I was very fortunate that a wonderful man named Everett Belote, who was the first dean of the college, only one, wanted people with life experience, as he called it. And I had been involved in some other things, on military, Marine Corps, and I had been a corporate buyer for, well, Ben Franklin stores and some other things. And he wanted somebody with, as I say, he called real life experiences. And I had an interview and was hired the same day, as a matter of fact.
Although teaching in not-so-ideal conditions, those first faculty set the tone for academic rigor and connection with their students that continues today. With supportive counselors and staff, with classes in different locations and temporary facilities, students prepared for jobs or for transfer to a four-year college. Clubs were established, with the Black Student Association and Phi Theta Kappa the first two recognized organizations. Early graduations were held at the Masonic Temple.
The first graduating class, I was lucky enough nobody whose name began with an A, so I became the first graduate by default. It was supposed to be in Central Park. The problem was it was supposed to rain that day, so they changed it and we graduated in the auditorium of the Masonic Temple. What's so remarkable about that event is it was also the inauguration of President Dortch, and there were all sorts of pictures of the faculty and staff, but there's no picture of any of the graduates from that day.
Connections with other universities and colleges allowed students to transfer easily. One of the college's key partners in those beginning years was Millikan University, the site of science labs and foreign language classes. In that first decade, Richland's president, Dr. Murray Deutsch, and the Board of Trustees recognized that Richland would soon need room to grow. After two early referenda for a permanent campus were defeated, Richland moved to a rented warehouse in Park 101 on the north side of Decatur in 1979. Classes were still offered off-campus, including at the Clinton Center, opened in 1977.
This was a very definite move out to Park 101. Was a very definite step forward, except for the kind of, gee, we thought we were going to get a new campus, a new permanent campus. Many of us did. On the other hand, that came eventually, and each time we moved was very much a very positive thing.
One of the big differences in moving from downtown to Park 101 is that they had several bathrooms, and that we didn't have a lot of restrooms down at downtown at 100 North Water. So besides the restrooms, which was exciting for me because you didn't have to stand in line, it expanded the classroom space. And it really allowed for somewhat of a college environment, not completely because it wasn't a campus, it was an industrial park, but it still allowed for the beginnings or the makings of a college campus.
The teenage decades of the 80s and 90s were for Richland a time of maturing and growing pains. Richland's student population continued to grow as more degrees and certificates were offered. Working with local businesses, Richland administrators identified critical employment needs in the district and added and expanded programs to meet those needs. Students participated in forensics, in theater, in internships, and on political campaigns. The reputation of the college strengthened with local partnerships understanding how it could change lives in the community.
The first board that I worked for, there were some really great people who Richland didn't have the reputation that it had now. So for these people to get on board with Richland, they had to have a sense of what it could be. You know, we were down in that old building waiting for the community to come alongside so that they would say, okay, yes, we think Richland is a good thing and we'll give you our tax dollars to build a permanent campus for Richland.
I was amazed at how little the community knew what Richland offered at that time, and it has just mushroomed beautifully since we're here. And a lot of that is, in my opinion, is to do with some community leaders and area leaders really getting behind things and letting them know about it, and wanting our graduates. I think the community now recognizes Richland as a real viable educational institution, which I think it had to grow into.
Relationships in the district were also cemented with the establishment of the Richland Foundation in 1980. The foundation was established to foster relationships with area citizens and businesses to support the college through financial contributions. In the first few years under the leadership of Dan Mash, the foundation exceeded all donation expectations. Dr. Howard Brown was the college's president at the time.
A fellow by the name of Dan Mash he hired, and Dan had personality dripping from his elbows. He could charm anybody, and he was responsible for many of the large donations that is in the foundation today. When they first started, Dan Mash said, well, I think we could raise, I think he said $2 million, something like that, which just, Howard kind of, oh, can we do that? Well, they did that and exceeded it. So I think he was very proud of the foundation. Then he was on the foundation board, and he actually served as trustee for a few months as an interim. So he covered the waterfront here, but I'm very proud of what he did and what he contributed. And I'm very proud of Richland and what they're doing.
Park 101 was home, but it would not accommodate the community's growing interest in obtaining an education from Richland. Howard Brown, the fourth president at the college, led the movement to showcase the potential that would be realized by a permanent campus.
They discuss, were our leaders born or made? Well, Howard Brown was born. He just had a natural ability to draw people to him. He also had the ability to see potential in people. Several people have told me, well, I didn't know I could do this particular job, but Howard thought I could. And he put me in that position, and I found out he knew things, saw things in me that I didn't know, abilities that I didn't know I had. And he was a real people person.
Thanks to volunteers throughout the district, a 1984 bond referendum was approved by voters, and in fall 1988, classes opened at the new campus.
We had the drawing of a building here, not near what we have now, but and it was to be built in 3 stages according to the state. Well, we had a board member that had a senator that he was real well acquainted with, and a couple other people in the board that really had a little leverage. So they spent some time over in Governor Thompson's office and were able to convince him that we should have a community college built in 1 phase. So we were able to build the core building in one phase.
But construction didn't stop there. The Weidenbacher greenhouse was ready for classes in fall of 1991, and the Schilling Community Education Center, a 44,600 square foot structure with an auditorium, opened in April 1993. With the selection of Dr. Charles Novak as the college's 5th president in 1989, Richland's focus on student success broadened.
One of the first things we did was ask all of our employees what they thought the challenges were for the college. And there were quite a few, and then I had the faculty help go over the surveys and the reports. And then we just told everybody what we had to change, and we set up 16 task forces, if I remember right. It's been a long time ago. And started about the process of changing the college.
Through a federal grant, the TRIO program was established to support first-generation, low-income students. Students in the TRIO program receive academic advisement and tutoring and have the opportunity to participate in cultural events. Through technology changes, students were able to stay in their home communities and connect to the classes on campus via distance education. Other new programs, such as nursing, surgical technology, and radiography, emphasize the growing need for health professionals in the community.
The nursing program the technology has grown immensely. The program itself started with basic, the nurses' aides, and then went to LPNs and RNs. The RN program now is equivalent to any RN program, and they actually can transfer to a 4-year college and get their BS degree if that's their preference. If you go to the hospital here, either hospital in Decatur, you will not, particularly if you're admitted, you will not have care without having Richland graduates touch you in one way or another.
Through all of this physical growth and change, academic excellence never wavered. Faculty and staff continued their mission to assure that graduates could transfer easily, find local employment, and contribute to the communities Richland served. Richland employees served on local boards, played chess at the Apple and Pork Festival in Clinton, and took the water wagon to the first Decatur celebration. Who would have thought? The new millennium brought a new president and fresh new ideas. Dr. Gail Saunders, Richland's 6th president and the first female president for the district, embraced the core mission of student success for the college. In addition, she asked how Richland could meet the needs of employers, incumbent workers, and prospective students. In other words, what does our district need to grow? One of the most obvious advancements in the world of education was technology. Online education allowed students to work from home at any time of the day or night. Classrooms were upgraded to meet the changes in faculty teaching practices. Programs like information technology, graphic arts, and office technology changed to integrate the current practices in the workplace. Human patient simulators offered students in health professions the opportunity to practice before going to clinicals.
The skills that they gain here certainly prepares them. And there are things like the adult and pediatric simulators, and now there's a child simulator, which are outstanding. The students may not have that kind of experience until a tragedy happens of a patient that they're taking care of, but they can actually go through and practice on potential disasters with the simulators. There are things like that that are just fantastic.
Faculty continued to bring energy and excitement to the classroom. As longtime faculty retired, new faculty brought with them the same level of student focus and academic rigor that had been the hallmark of Richland since its doors opened.
I've had the opportunity to serve both as a full-time faculty member for a time and as an adjunct. It is the notion of a community college, and I know that I know other people have said this. Where are they when they walk in the door? And making them see that they can do more, improve themselves. As faculty, we can only take people so far based on their desire, their willingness to work, their willingness to understand that constructive criticism, the emphasis is on constructive. It is how can you be better at what you want to do. We ask students to take humanities classes and art classes and music classes, not because it's something extra that they have to take, but because it gives them a greater sense of the world around them. And so, in that sense of a grounding for lifelong learning, faculty are key in that grounding.
New faculty, new programs, new classes, specialized equipment and training. To accommodate all of these changes, the physical campus had to grow. Partnerships with area high school districts opened the doors for dual credit so that students could earn both high school and college credit in one class. The Adele P. Glenn Academy for Early Childhood Education opened in 2009, giving student parents another option for introducing the love of learning to their children, while also serving as a working laboratory for students pursuing careers in early childhood education. The Shearer Industrial Technology Center opened in 2002, the Schroet Health Education Center opened in 2003, and the Dwayne O. Andreas Agribusiness Education Center opened in 2007.
Richland reinvents itself by asking the community and what are the needs, our education and training needs, and by just their own visioning, looking into the future. So we start the reinventing process through a master planning process. We've done a number of the iterations of master plans, and we've worked on 94 projects since we started.
Who would have thought that from a downtown bank building, Richland would have the opportunity to be the showcase for agriculture for the world? Beginning in 2007, Richland has hosted the Farm Progress Show every other year, bringing hundreds of thousands of people from around the globe to Decatur and to Central Illinois. This partnership with local and state government, businesses, and universities focuses the world on Richland and Decatur and will continue to impact economic growth and development for the region. In 2009, the Center for Sustainability and Innovation opened, with its signature wind turbine as an iconic symbol for Richland's increased emphasis on sustainability. In December 2010, the center received the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design Platinum designation.
That's really a groundbreaking building. People probably don't realize it's the first wind turbine at a community college in the state of Illinois. It's the first LEED Platinum facility in the state of Illinois for community college. And it's approaching carbon neutrality, which means it produces all of the energy that it consumes on site. There are very few buildings in the world that do that.
The vision of Richland to be the premier source for education, workforce training, partnerships, and economic development directs the work of the college into the future. The Richland Foundation recently completed its first major gifts campaign and reached its goal of $17 million. These funds will be used to support the current and future programs and students with the establishment of the Walter and Alice Shearer Scholarship. With this scholarship, students will be able to complete their 2 years at Richland and be supported financially as they transfer to Illinois public colleges and universities. Campus facilities will be built to support new programs and training demands. Programs in renewable energy and renewable fuels will have a place in the National Sequestration Education Center, funded through a partnership with the U.S. Department of Energy.
Now we're going to be do something that's I think no one ever expected to happen, but have a national center on the campus here. And we will be groundbreaking for the National Sequestration Education Center, which is a wonderful relationship with the U.S. Department of Energy, the Archer Daniels Midland Company, Schlumberger, and the Illinois State Geological Survey. A partnership there that no one would really expect a community college to be a part of. But when you start looking at, does that make sense for us to be involved in those? Absolutely it does. Not only because of where we're at, but because of the technologies we have, the way we are very innovative, the way we've embraced the spirit of the usefulness and the need for community colleges as presented by President Obama. So we've really taken to heart all of those things and all the motivations that are out there and all the encouragement that is there for community colleges to shine. And we've, I think, really lived up to that and exceeded expectations for what a community college can do in terms of impacting the community that we're within, but also the region and nationally and globally. With the National Sequestration Education Center, the world's eyes will be on Decatur and on the Richland Community College campus as to what's happening with carbon capture and storage technologies.
With all this potential for growth and change, the heart of the college is still its faculty and staff. With qualified faculty passionate about their subjects, with supportive staff eager to ensure that students are ready to leave Richland for work or for additional education, Richland will continue what it started 40 years ago.
We have spent 40 years in educating Richland Community College district residents, and it's just been a wonderful 40 years for us. Richland Community College has been that opportunity step for so many people in the community who have needed to look for new careers or new opportunities to move on and to get a hold of a great new opportunity for themselves. They come back, they learn what they need to know, they get the credentials that they need in order to get back into the workforce, and then they carry on with their lives in even better ways than what they had been living them before. And so it would make sense to me that many people would say, wow, this has been the diamond in the rough, or it's been that crowning jewel for so many people who have lost their way over time, but then were able to regain it because they found a real foundation in what Richland Community College could provide for them. And then as we have helped them grow and become confident that they could do whatever it is that they wanted to do next, that they have achieved their dreams, and then we hope will come back and be part of Richland's family for many, many years to come.
Student success, partnerships, community engagement. Richland Community College, 40 years of excellence.